All right, I'm back. I went ahead and I prepared all the cookie dough into little balls. Let me show you. They're about 1 inch in diameter. And then I put them all on this cookie sheet, giving them some space because they're going to rise and get bigger as they bake. And then I just, for my sugar cookies, just take 2 fingers and press down on the dough lightly so that they have this little indentation and they're a little flatter instead of a ball on the sheet. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the oven. I only have 2 cookie sheets, so I'm gonna have to do multiple batches. They're supposed to bake for 8 to 10 minutes. My oven is very touchy, so I'm gonna do 8 minutes. And I like to stop my cookies halfway through baking and switch them to the opposite rack so that they both bake evenly. Okay, I'm back. All the sugar cookies are baked and cooled. They're right over here. They're delicious. My dough was in the fridge for 30 minutes, the snickerdoodle dough, so it's ready to go, and my other batch of it is in the fridge now getting chilled. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these on baking sheets really quick, and I'm gonna do something very similar like I did with the other ones, and I'm just gonna ball them up again. But instead of pressing them down with my fingers, I'm gonna use a fork. And also, these only have baking soda in them and no baking powder, so they're not going to rise or spread as much as the sugar cookies, so I can fit more on one sheet. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna go bake those. All right, I'm back. I've already baked some of my snickerdoodles. I still have some left over here that I have to put in, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the next thing. Next, I am making chocolate covered pretzel rods, something that most people enjoy. I've got white chocolate and milk chocolate here, so I'm gonna be making some of each. Typically when I make these, I like to put them on my pans and let them dry, but my pans are obviously in use with all the cookies I'm making right now. So I'm just gonna be putting them on parchment paper on my counter because there's really nowhere else for me to put them right now. So the first thing I'm gonna do is melt some almond bark. You can use other kinds of chocolate, but I typically use almond bark, so I'm just breaking it apart. And I'm starting with my white chocolate because I'm doing white and milk, so I'm gonna start with the white so that I don't have to wash it in between uses. I can just put the milk chocolate in. So to melt the almond bark, you just need a microwave safe container, preferably a tall one so that it's easier to dip the pretzel rods. I am using the glass piece of my French press because I don't have anything else to use, but you can also use a microwave safe like plastic cup that's thicker, or you could even use a glass cup, and then I just put it in the microwave. She don't want to fit. Okay, there we go. All right, so I've got it all in here, so now I'm gonna go ahead and microwave it and stir it in between. There's multiple ways to melt it in the microwave. Shoot, it doesn't fit. Our microwave is short. The microwave thwarted my plans, so I have to transfer the almond bark into this measuring cup because our microwave is really short for some reason. Because the apartment complex hates us, probably. That's why. So I'm just gonna put it in this glass measuring cup. And then some people, when they're melting this, they'll do like a longer time and change the power on their microwave. But for time's sake, I'm just gonna do 30-second increments. So I've got a long piece of parchment paper laid out to put my pretzels on. And I'm gonna stir my chocolate now that 30 seconds is up. It's important to stir and move around the chocolate even if it hasn't melted that much yet, because otherwise it will burn. I'm gonna go ahead and separate out some of the non-broken pretzel rods while my chocolate is melting. I'm just gonna find all the ones that aren't broken. You can dip the broken ones too. I might dip my broken ones, but first I'm gonna dip the full ones for the gift baskets I'm making. So once you get all the non-broken ones out of the bag, if you want, you can just give them to my roommate because she likes pretzels. Here you go, Lindsay. That's what I'm gonna do with that bag because she's helped me a lot today and she deserves some pretzels. Yeah. Mixing the chocolate again. Once again, I just put it in for 30 seconds. Shouldn't really take more than 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, now that my chocolate is melted completely and there is no lumps in it, I'm gonna transfer it. Actually, I wonder if I could dip the full thing. No, I'm just gonna transfer. I'm gonna transfer it into this longer cup. It makes it a lot easier to dip the pretzel rods and get them covered well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and transfer all of it. I'm gonna try and get as much of the chocolate out as I can. There is gonna be some left in it and that's fine. So you wanna work pretty quickly with this because it does take a little longer when it's all together like this, but it does dry fairly quickly. So you're just gonna wanna put it in the cup and carefully tilt it so you can cover the whole thing. And then I scrape the bottom along the cup. That side's not gonna have a lot of chocolate on it, but it's also the side I'm putting down on the parchment paper. And I'm gonna carefully place these pretty close together so I have more room on my parchment paper since I'm not working with a lot of space at the moment because I'm doing so much at once in my kitchen right now. And try to get some of the excess off when you're dipping them too, because otherwise it's gonna spread out across all the parchment and they're gonna connect and make a mess. And then also while you're doing this, if you want to, you can put sprinkles on them. I'm gonna put sprinkles on some of mine, maybe all of them. I might do like half without. Some people don't like sprinkles. I personally don't like sprinkles. I do kind of like the sugar sprinkles, which is what I have. These sugar sprinkles, they're the little crystal-y like sprinkles. It's basically just colored sugar. So right now, my batch of cookies that was cooling is cooled. So really quick, I just wanted to show you guys the way that I'm doing the snickerdoodle cookies. I'm pressing them down with a fork like this. And then I'm using this mixture of cinnamon and sugar. And I'm just dipping the top in them so that the top is covered in it. And then I just do that to the rest of them and then I bake them. The bake time, I did 9 minutes for the sugar cookies and 9 minutes for the snickerdoodles. Because of my oven. You can do up to 10 minutes. Just make sure you don't over bake them. All right, I'm back. I just dipped all the pretzels, the white chocolate, and the milk chocolate. There's about 80 pretzels and all the cookies are done. There's still a few cooling behind me, but I got them off the baking sheets. So now I'm ready to get onto the next recipe. Lastly, I'm making cheese straws. Apparently that's not something a lot of people have heard of. I'm using, once again, not my recipe, a recipe from the bakery that I used to work at. They let me use their recipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into that now. The first thing I'm gonna do is open some cheese and also fail to open it properly like I always do. Okay, the recipe calls for 2 cups of sharp cheddar. I got mild cheddar, but that's fine. Mild cheddar's better. Got my measuring cup. For the cheese straws, the oven needs to be at 325 Fahrenheit. So I'm just gonna scoop 2 cups of cheese into this bowl. And I'm gonna add a little more because cheese. All right, 1.5 cups of flour. Put it in the bowl. I'm just gonna mix it really quick. Next, you need 2 cups of Rice Krispies cereal. Next, you need 1 teaspoon of salt. Once again, I'm just going to use my hand because I have a pretty good idea of how much a teaspoon and half a teaspoon is for salt. And then 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I put a little extra in because it's spicy. And then lastly, you're gonna wanna take some butter, soften. Mine's not super soft. I'm gonna soften it a little more. You don't want it to be too soft or melted at all because that will make this really difficult. Just put that in. And then I didn't have a full stick of butter because it calls for half a cup, which is 1 stick of butter. So I'm also going to be adding 2 teaspoons of olive oil as a substitute. And then you want to mix it together. If you make the cheese straws, I do recommend that you have extra butter on hand or olive oil like I used because I didn't have extra butter, because typically you do have to add more. And to get the right consistency, it should be this kind of like damp, crumbly mixture, but it should be able to be formed together after squeezing it a couple of times. Typically, these are shaped into straws, which is why they're called cheese straws. But since I don't have the ability to do that, I am just making them into little discs. So basically I'm just gonna squish the mixture together like this and place them on the baking sheet. I'm making them about 1 inch round. I don't know where I put the cap. Oh, here we go. I did end up having to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I used 7 tablespoons of butter and 6 teaspoons of the olive oil. And here's my baking sheet with parchment paper. I'm just gonna make them into little discs and put them on the sheet. They don't need to have a ton of space because they're not going to rise when they're baking, because there's no baking soda or baking powder to make it rise. All right, I'm back. I've finished everything off. Here's what the cheese straws look like, or cheese discs, I guess I should say. Here's the finished result of that. I baked them for 8 minutes at 325, and then I pressed them down gently with a spoon and cooked them for 4 more minutes and then let them cool before I handled them. They're very fragile, so be careful when handling them. Here's the finished results of the sugar cookies and the snickerdoodles right here. Yummy. And then I already bagged all of the pretzels, but I did make some shorter ones for me and my roommates. Just simple chocolate dipped pretzels I used almond bark for. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave the recipes for both of the cookies in the comments below in case you guys want to make them at home. And here's the finished result of all of my bagged products for the little gift baskets I'm making. I put them all in different bags to help me know which is which. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the gift baskets together, and I will come back and show you guys the finished result for the gift baskets tomorrow. Thank you for watching.